of putting things on before Shabbat and letting the melacha be done on its own on Shabbat. The most common example of this is preparing the food on the stovetop from before Shabbat and letting it continue cooking on Shabbat. It's brought down a halacha that a person should eat hot food on, at least for sure, Shabbat morning. Friday night is easier, but a person should prepare himself hot food for Shabbat morning. How is that possible? That means you're preparing the food on the fire from before Shabbat, and you're letting it cook, or you're letting it stay warm through the night until the morning of Shabbat. So, which means almost every single religious household is preparing food before Shabbat, and they're putting it on the fire and they're letting it cook through the Shabbat until for the duration of the Shabbat. Now, we know there's something called the Shabbos blech. I don't know where that word originates. Probably a Yiddish word, but we know that when we put up food before Shabbat, we don't just put it directly on the stove top. Rather, we put something, which is a hefsek. We put a metal sheet to make like a hefsek, to make a separation between the fire and the actual food that we're cooking. I want to talk about this now for a second. Technically, mideoraita. If a person prepared his food before Shabbat, and he put it on the fire from before Shabbat, and then it's cooking throughout Shabbos, there's nothing wrong with that, mideoraita. You're not cooking on Shabbat, it's cooking on its own, that's fine. The problem is, if we could imagine someone coming to his pot of chamin, or pot of, or plate of whatever, chicken or something that he's warming up or he's cooking, he comes to it at Friday night, it's 9 p.m., and he sees that it's not cooked yet, it's not finished. Chazal, the rabbis were afraid that perhaps he might not, without realizing, he might just all of a sudden start playing with the knob. It's put up the temperature a little bit so it should be mimahed b'shalot. It should quicken its cooking. Chazal were very worried about this, and therefore they made a takana that somebody who's cooking before Shabbat has to make some sort of reminder or some sort of deterrent that even if he comes to look at it on Shabbat, he will not, chas v'shalom, come to higher the flame. And therefore they made this takana to cover it. There's other ways of getting out of it, but the most common way today is to cover it through this metal thing that's between the fire and the food. And therefore this is like you consciously put it out of your mind when you cover it before Shabbat. You're saying, oh yeah, on Shabbat I don't touch it. I put a covering and that's it. It's away from me. And this way we're not worried that he might come and switch the knobs on Shabbat. However, the situation of this gezerah is really halachically only by when the food had started cooking and it did not yet reach even halfway fully cooked. Because this is the most common case that he's going to come on Shabbat and it's not yet cooked yet. Because it only started cooking. It's not even halfway cooked. It may happen very, very easily that on Shabbat he might forget and it might not be ready and he might continue playing with the knob. But if the food is already cooked and it's just keeping warm, or the food is totally raw and it needs a long time to cook, or if the food is 3/4 cooked or something like that, and we're not choshesh that he's going to come, that it's not going to be ready and he might come to play with it, because the odds that it's not going to be ready when he looks at it are very small. Or the odds that he might come play with it are very small, because especially if it was raw before Shabbat. The gezerah was only when it was started cooked and he didn't finish, and it needs a lot of cooking. That's when there's a gezerah. But all the other cases, technically, one could have put the food on the fire without a blech. However, Chacham Avadia says that in all cases, because the aposkim are machmir, it's better that in all cases, at least most cases, therefore we get used to just always putting the blech tov and achon lahachmir latet, this tasha matechet, this thing lahafsik ben ha'esh laktera, in all cases, because you never know what you're doing, you never know if it's raw, if it's not raw, it's complicated to figure out where you're holding in the bishul, in the cooking, and therefore we always make sure to have this blech. If somebody wants to have a hot plate, that's just like a blech, it's fine, because there's not much to play with the hot plate, it's just a plug, you put it in, that's it, and therefore the hot plate would also be okay, you don't have to put another separation of metal between the food and the hot plate. Anyway, Baruch Adonai Le'olam.